Yeah, Road Warrior, all the way from Mad Max, Thunderdome. You start off with Mad Max, then you got the Road Warrior beyond the Thunderdome. All of those Road Warriors are actually genius, but the first two are the classics, especially when Whitney Houston got involved in the Thunderdome. We don't need another hero. We don't need another place to go. All we are is what we are. The Thunderdome. Something like that. Looked like a rain came through. I didn't get that one shot. I'm so sorry. You'll have to forgive me. But I just passed a little creek, and not a whole lot of flooding, but more than usual. That creek is usually dry. So we had a little rain come through. If you look at this is awe-inspiring heavenly beauty. This is where I grew up. I was raised first in a trailer, then in a normal size house, and then in a mansion. So we went from rags to riches. But one of my friends lived in a trailer while we were going to school. And he would get sick and all kinds of stuff. He'd get like these abscesses in his throat where they have to relieve and drain. He was very, very poor. They lived in very poor circumstances in a trailer with, just imagine all the clothes that you can think of piled up. When you walk in, you could barely walk around. His mom was probably a recovering addict or alcoholic or something. He got into the DEA eventually. His name was Shane. And we used to watch Road Warrior. It was one of our favorite movies. Mad Max and Road Warrior. We were big film buffs, you know, and he had this trailer and this little VCR. Even though they were poor, they actually had their own VCR. Not like Adam the Woo where they had to rent it. But they were poor, and they actually had one. They lived in a trailer. And yeah, it was great. It was a great, great time. I think they drove a Ford pickup or something like that. Yeah, Mel Gibson, there's a lot of rumors about his career, but he finally went iconic with the Mad Max and then eventually the Road Warrior, the ruler of their life and the ruler of the universe. I've tried to talk to Islamic people in Irving when I would give them rides, and they would still hold truth that he was only a prophet. That's bad. That's very dangerous. They'll go to hell for believing that unless they acknowledge that Jesus Christ is the one and only Messiah and rules over their life. It's a lot about what this show is about. That's why it's getting a lot of trouble. Now, you got to realize this, that Jewish people, they don't even acknowledge his existence, and they won't. If you talk to a Jewish person about Jesus Christ, they'll look the other way. They'll ignore it. They don't get on their knees and ask Jesus Christ to come into their heart, or they'll change their ways. And they'll begin to fund other people and help other people so they can live and have a family. It's a cool car right there. It's very important that you always say to yourself that Jesus Christ is the ruler of my life, and Jesus Christ has saved me and died on the cross and rose on the third day, that he was resurrected, and that he is the King of kings and the ruler of the universe and will rule your life no matter what you go through. No matter what demonic force comes into your life and tries to take you over, Jesus Christ will pull you out of it. Did you know this, though? Jesus Christ can take you out of hell. That's right. Jesus Christ can pull you right out of hell. If you're in hell, he can pull you right out of hell. You can lay your bed in the depths of hell and the ninth gate of hell. You can lay your bed in the ninth circle region of hell, right? The cannons, right? You can lay your bed in the lower depths next to Satan in hell, and Jesus Christ can pull you out of it. He'll pull you right out of hell. All you have to do is confess it with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. can actually see the street sign on the mailbox right there. It says Florence. Same house. It's absolutely gorgeous. And they are always behind. That's an average sports car for South Lake, pretty much. Look at that tree right there. Yeah, one of my friends lived over here. We were part of a group called the Fours. We used to run around like idiots, egging houses, and nut in front of people. One time we were coming out all the way from this area right over here, way down there. We were running from this farm that we egged. We could hear Greenville or some kind of racetrack miles away. It sounded like giants walking. And it scared the crowd. I went over here in the trees. It was race cars starting up. It was like, all these giants walking through the trees. This is before I did LSD and everything. But back there, we ran back full speed. We had egged this farmhouse. We ran all the way through here. And then all of a sudden, as we were running back, we heard this. We thought it was Armageddon. It was like just race cars in the distance starting their engines up. They did drag racing. But that's where Jesse lived right there. And we started the Force. We all had like four-wheelers. We were kind of brats. Four-wheelers and Ninja Stars and Ninja uniforms. And I had a friend named Sparky. We called him Sparky. Some soccer mom with tattoos. I told her, look, I'm just going to drop it in the middle of the driveway. Yeah, because of the Delta variant. That's usually what we do, though. We keep our distance. But yeah, you can see it right here. You can see the side of where that is beyond the... It's kind of camouflage. But a lot of things were camouflaged. Back in the day, it's got like wood kind of structure that kind of blends in with the trees. But that's where we did our business, off of Florence and Basque. Back in the day when we were learning how to be terrorist in the night kind of thing, throwing eggs at people. It's about like 20 kids. Imagine 20 kids running around, most of them in camouflage and ninja uniforms, riding four-wheelers with carts of eggs. Well, not carts, but at least one cart of egg. A lot of eggs. Look at that thing still out there too. A lot of eggs. But yeah, it was a heck of a time. We were called the Fours. That was one gang I was in. Then later on, the Ninja Knights. The Ninja Knights is a made-up gang. That was what I made up. I changed the name in Catnappers whenever I wrote Catnappers. And that's where my first friend lived when I was in elementary school. Maybe like pre-K. It was like pre-K. I went in there and he was playing like Legos or whatever. And I walked in and I was all shaking. I was real scared because I had never had a friend before. So I was, my mom was like, you're going to go in there, play with that kid. And that's where my first friend lived when I was in elementary school. Maybe like pre-K. It was like pre-K. I went in there and he was playing like Legos or whatever. And I walked in and I was all shaking. I was real scared because I had never had a friend before. So I was, my mom was like, you're going to go in there, play with that kid. You'll basically, make a friend. And I didn't understand what that meant, make a friend, I was branching out from my family and like kind of starting a business kind of thing with Legos. And not really a business, but I was branching out to find independence from my mom. And this is like pre-K. So I went in, I was real scared. I kind of stayed in the corner of the room. The kid just played with his Legos, and that was like the whole day went. Because I wasn't used to, making friends. That's a cool little thing right here. Little fish thing. But I did, I went in there and finally made a friend. And it took time over time period of, junior high and elementary to actually really make friends and have a friend. And then later on, I branched off and got into theater. Theater is a great thing. It's a great thing to make friends and have community and learn behavior among your peers. Theater is like a real important aspect of life, and getting together as a community and a team to tell a story. That's probably one of the hardest things you can do. At the New School of Social Research, we studied social behavior. Social behavior. There's two reasons why someone would approach you and your spouse. Only two. It'll be hard for you to understand because you'll have to go to school to understand this, but there's two reasons why they'll approach you. Social behavior. There's two reasons why someone would approach you and your spouse. Only two. It'll be hard for you to understand because you'll have to go to school to understand this, but there's two reasons why they'll approach you. One reason is to show allegiance to their spouse. Like, you pledge allegiance to the flag. To show allegiance to their own spouse. Not to the married couple that they're not to the married couple that they're approaching, right? They get into your space or whatever. The first reason is to show allegiance to their spouse, to their husband or their wife. The second reason is money. So this is South Lake, where all the millionaires live. Moxie's I haven't been to. Moxie's looks pretty nice. There's usually a bunch of people sitting out here on a Sunday. I guess because it's 97 degrees. It's about 100 degrees outside. They're probably not doing it. The fans are not even running. So they just have them inside with air conditioning to keep all cool. You could probably sit on Moxie's, or sit out on the patio of Moxie Grills and eat. You could probably die of heat exhaustion just having a mimosa. In 100-degree weather, if you're there for about an hour or two, you probably just die right there, and you're right there at the table. Any of those restaurants that have a patio, you sit out there for about an hour or two like that without proper hydration, you probably just freaking just kill over and die. So a lot of the people are inside the restaurant. But a lot of times in the springtime, it's real cool. It'd be cool to get Sun Kill Moon to come out here somewhere and play a little concert. But I know they're scared because they'd probably get shot. Harkins, right here, that's a really cool theater too, South Lake. My dad and I, like I said, we were going to see Atlas. It is destructive. They like men to act like children. It's part of it in Satanism. So in Satanism, in the Satanist religion, when they worship, the men will act like children. They'll actually dress up like a little baby and make baby noises and roll around. And they celebrate that. They demean men, and they love bondage. They love to put people in prison. They'll find ways to use the law, the Jewish law, to put you in prison. That's a form of Satanism. When you go to court and you're going to court, you're entering into Satanism. So it's their realm. And they'll use legal documents and legalism to lock you up in bondage. That's part of Satanism. So when the door slams and it's a jail cell, even if you're a murderer and the door slams and you're behind a jail cell, that's because of Satan and his laws. There was a tricky witch behind it. True story. Yeah, there's a fountain right there. Pretty nice. So I went to Keller High School. I got slushies right there, Jamie's. There was a big fat guy at HEB when I was substituting. He told a story. He used to he was some teacher at Keller, and then he switched over to HEB. He was real big. He was morbidly obese. Have you ever seen Dune? You know, the fat guy that would float around in Dune? Sting would be all saying weird stuff. That's how fat he was. He was huge. But he used to do stuff here in Keller. Of the Jamies right there. And he'd talk about getting a slushie when we were doing the substitute thing. So he was like a substitute coordinator. He was the one that hired all the substitute teachers for HEB. But he was also at Keller. That's Keller Square right there. He used to go there and get slushies. All David Lynch. Drink the slushie. Real big, floating around just like in Dune. Coordinator. He was the one that hired all the floating around just like in Dune. Teachers. Big floating around just like in Dune. But he was also at Keller. That's Keller Square right there. That was a roller rink. He used to go there and get slushies. In Keller. All David Lynch. It was kind of a roller rink, but it wasn't really. Real big, floating around just like in Dune. So it kind of was a roller rink, big, floating around just like in Dune. Big, floating around just like in Dune. So my family locked me up when I was in my, I was about 21 or 22, because I forgot my name. Somewhere in this area right here, a police officer pulled me over. I was coming back from rehab because I was on Risperdal. They pulled me over about right here. And I had my pill bottle with me because I was driving about, I don't know, maybe, he said I was swerving. So he came over, he said, listen, I can't let you drive. You're under the influence. Because I was on Risperdal. So I showed him the bottle of medication. I said, well, here's, this is what they have me on. He said, I'm sorry, but you're not gonna be able to drive home. Do you have anybody that can help you? And I said, well, yeah, I can call my dad. So I called my dad, and my dad, I guess he got off work or whatever, and he came over and found where I was, the location, because I just told him where I was. I don't even know how I called him, because I wouldn't have had a cell phone. I don't know how I called him, but some magic way. This was like in the 90s, like 95 or close to 94. Maybe he gave me his cell phone. I don't know. Or maybe the officer called or let me use his cell phone. I think probably the officer let me call on his cell phone. And so he came by in his truck, and I was able to follow him back home. If I'm not mistaken, I think I did drive home. They can do that if you're on medicine. If it's legal medicine, I think. It was Risperdal. I think it was Risperdal. But they allowed it to happen. Because I remember, I guess he had I guess the officer allowed a parental guardian. I was like 22 or 23. It was a long time. It was a long time ago. It's probably like in the 94? No. It was like 95. 1996, maybe 1995. It was when I was in outpatients after I started walking around saying good as equally and all this stuff and acting like a robot at Texas Wesleyan. The following year, I ended up in Paris, France, and was doing much better. I think he had my dad come over to where my car was and pull in front of me, and then I followed him, or my father. Yes, right. My father followed me back. Do you have anyone that could follow you back? Because I guess they didn't want to tow the car at that moment, saying that, I was under the influence. I was on Risperdal, which was the medicine that they prescribed to me. But I guess because I swerved or something, or I was, really drugged out of my mind coming out of the rehab or the stabilization ward from possible Mickey. When someone slips a Mickey in your drink, a hidden Mickey. All Adam the Woo, hidden Mickey, right? Get it? So I guess I was coming back from Trinity Springs. It was somewhere on one of these roads. I think it was right back there. And then he just drove, and I think I followed him, and they allowed that. Pretty weird, man. But that really happened. I remember it. Don't know why they would do something like that. This was a very long time ago, probably like the 90s. I would say 95, maybe 94, 94-ish, 95-ish, maybe 96, but probably closer to 95-ish, maybe 94-ish.